So, what is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning back in. Welcome to my review of the Rodenstock Rodagon 80mm f5.6. If you're interested in this lens, stay tuned. If you want to sum up the Rodenstock Rodagon 80mm f5.6, you can call it the darkroom perfectionist that accidentally became a digital snob. Some lenses are designed to go on cameras. Others are designed to sit inside large metal boxes in darkrooms while quietly projecting negatives onto photography paper for the rest of their lives. The Rodenstock Rodagon 80mm f5.6 belongs firmly to the second category. It never asked to be adapted to mirrorless cameras, never volunteered for macro photography, and certainly never expected to be mounted to something like a Sony A7. And yet, here we are. Because somewhere along the way, photographers discovered something deeply suspicious. Many enlarger lenses, particularly the Rodagon series, are ridiculously sharp, which leads to the obvious question. If a lens designed to enlarge tiny negatives onto paper performs this well, what happens when you point it at the real world? Spoiler alert, good things. Very, very good things. Before discussing the lens itself, we need to talk about Rodenstock, because this company didn't accidentally stumble into good optics. Rodenstock was founded in 1877 in Munich, which means the company was already grinding precision glass decades before Leica even existed. Over the following century, Rodenstock became one of Germany's major optical manufacturers, producing lenses for photography, large format cameras, industrial optics, surveying, and high-precision reproduction work. Basically, if something involved light behaving properly, Rodenstock probably built a lens for it. Among their most respected photographic lines were the Rodagon, which was a wide-angle large-format lenses, the Sirona, which were large-format taken lenses, the Aporona, which were process lenses, and the Rodagon, which were the premium line of the enlarger lenses. And while the photographic world likes to obsess over camera lenses, enlarger lenses had a far more unforgiving job. A camera lens can hide its sins behind artistic blur and atmospheric lighting. An enlarger lens cannot. Its job is brutally simple. Take a tiny piece of film and project every single microscopic detail onto photography paper. No distortion, no mushy corners, no excuses. So when Rodenstock introduced the Rodagon series in the mid-1960s, the goal wasn't to create something charming or characterful. The goal was to create something optically ruthless. Let's talk about the nerdy stuff that makes this lens so scary sharp. The Rodagon 80mm f5.6 uses a 6-element 4-group optical design, essentially a refined double Gauss derivative. Now, if you're not an optical engineer, double Gauss derivative sounds like something that requires medical treatment. But in lens design, it usually means a low distortion, excellent correction of aberration, high resolution, and a balanced performance over the entire frame. In other words, the optical equivalent of a straight A student. The Rodagon's optical formula was optimized especially for 2x to 10x reproduction ratios, the magnificent range used when enlarging negatives in darkrooms, which also happens to be suspiciously close to macro photography magnifications. This explains why photographers keep adapting these lenses despite the fact that they were clearly designed for equipment that weighs more than most modern cameras. So it has an aperture range from f5.6 to f32. It has a 5-blade diaphragm. It uses the M39 enlarger mount and is a completely compact metal construction. The result is a lens designed to deliver extremely flat image fields, minimal distortions and high resolving power, which coincidentally are exactly the qualities digital sensors love. So let's address the elephant in the room. The Rodagon is absurdly sharp. It's not a good for a vintage lens sharp. It's not surprisingly decent sharp. No, it's just sharp. Darkroom photographers often describe the Rodagon lenses as neatly sharp with even illumination across the frame, which sounds like marketing language until you realize that in larger lenses literally need to resolve film grain. If the lens can't reproduce grain structure, it's considered mediocre. So when you mount this thing on a digital camera sensor, the lens reacts roughly like a microscope that has suddenly been promoted to landscape photography. The center sharpness is outstanding. Even wide open, the lens produces crisp details, and once stopped down slightly, it becomes brutally resolving. This is not a lens that gently interprets your subject. This is a lens that interrogates it. Many vintage lenses fall apart at the edges. The Rodagon does not, because enlarger lenses are specially designed to produce flat field sharpness across the entire image. When printed negatives, any field curvature would immediately ruin the corner of the print. So Rodenstock engineered the Rodagon to keep the entire image plane in focus, which means modern photographers get the pleasant surprise of excellent edge-to-edge consistency. Your sensor will be happy. Your mediocre composition skills may not. Like most enlarger lenses, performance peaks slightly, stop down. The consensus sweet spot is roughly f8 to f11. At this point, aberrations are minimized, while diffraction hasn't yet become a problem, which results in images that are crisp, contrasty, and slightly smug about it. Contrast and aberrations are very controlled, particularly considering its age. Chromatic aberrations are generally well controlled and distortion is negligible thanks to the symmetrical optical design. This means you got straight lines that stay straight, colors that behave themselves. So let's talk about the bokeh, because someone will eventually ask about it. Discussing bokeh on an enlarger lens is slightly ridiculous. This is like reviewing the comfort of the passenger seat in a race car. It's technically possible, but it's not really the point. Still, the Rodagon's 5-blade diaphragm produces reasonably smooth out-of-focus areas. It won't compete with modern portrait lenses, but it's certainly more pleasant than many vintage optics, which is impressive for a lens whose original job was mainly described as that it makes negatives bigger and that's it. Let's talk about build quality. The Rodagon looks exactly like what it is, a precision tool from a darkroom. It's made of solid metal, it has a compact design, smooth aperturing and engraved markings. There's absolutely nothing flashy about it. No branding drama, no oversized focus ring, no modern design gimmicks. Just a small, dense metal cylinder quietly waiting to do its job better than you would expect it to. Among darkroom photographers, Rodagon lenses have long been considered top-tier enlarger optics, competing directly with Schneider Koponon and Nikon's L-Nikon lines. Many photographers report dramatic improvement in printing quality when upgrading to a Rodagon from a cheap enlarger lens, which is another way of saying this lens has been humiliating inferior optics for decades. Let's come to the final verdict. The Rodenstock Rodagon 80mm f5.6 is a fascinating example of a lens that was never intended for the way photographers use it today. It was designed for darkrooms, for enlargers, for projecting negatives onto paper. And yet, decades later, it turns out to be an exceptional capable optic tool for modern digital workflows. It is extremely sharp, optically well corrected, built like a small piece of laboratory equipment, and outstanding for reproducing and macro work. What it is not is convenient. It is not modern, and it is not intended for normal camera use. But if you're willing to adapt it, the Rodagon offers something rare. A lens designed by engineers who care more about optical perfection than marketing features. Thank you so much for your attention and have a good one. Goodbye.